all of that stuff. How do you see really tapping into the doula movement as being transformative in this space?
We hear the similar storylines, right? I felt dismissed, unheard. I felt undermined. My pain wasn't taken seriously. I might have sat in the emergency room for 2 hours waiting. There's a belief that Black women are impervious to pain. When you have someone who understands the systemic nature of the frameworks that we're moving through and the institutional frameworks that we're moving through and how they impact on our bodies, that's someone who can help you navigate that terrain, but also imagine a different scenario, right? So what if we imagined birth outside of hospitals? Right? What if we imagined birth in the home?
Welcome back to the Omi Show. I'm Omi Bell here with my co-host,
Takia Ross.
And we're so excited to have our good girlfriend, number one Omi homie, back here with us, Latham Thomas. How are you?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me back. It's so lovely to see y'all. Happy. I mean, it's such a beautiful day, a beautiful time of year. So much has happened. We had spring, we had summer, and I'm back with you now. So I'm happy to be here. And it's good to see y'all.
It feel like we still in summer. What y'all
think? I was like, trying to remember. Is it summer still? And we want it to fall. But I'm so happy and so blessed to be here with y'all. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. How you feeling, Takia?
All is well. I can't complain.
Beautiful. God is good.
So since the last time we talked, all right, you had your doula conference. And so I want to know, like, how did it go? And what have you been doing since then? And then you asked me, what have I been doing? We can kind of just riff and what Takia been doing. We just going to have a whole conversation about what we've been doing.
That's right. So first of all, thank you so much for asking about the Doula Expo. It was incredible. We had 1,000 people there. One of the beautiful things about the expo that people may not know offline that I will share here is that Omi and I had a conversation going into the expo, and she was like, I am reclaiming my rest. I will be in retreat and sabbatical in a space of just, deep reflection and relaxation and, making way for what's coming next in my life. And which I really appreciated the boundary and the level set. And I was like, okay, she ain't coming to the expo, but she'd be there in spirit. And she came through and actually offered the foundation a scholarship that allowed for 200, up to 200, I should say, birthing professionals, BIPOC birthing professionals to attend, which was amazing because what that meant for the community was that people who could not afford, who were very interested in coming. And as y'all know, this has been a really rough time for people, really challenging for folks financially. And so that was a gift to be able to have folks come through and receive this amazing scholarship support from Black Girl Ventures. So we just want to thank you and honor you and lift you in service, because I think it's one thing to say, I'm stepping away, I'm taking care of myself, but I'm also deeply committed to community and want to, pay it forward and ensure that other folks can attend. And so we just appreciate you, want to honor you, want to lift you in this moment and say thank you, and that we love you and we see you and hope that you enjoyed yourself because we missed you. Okay.
You know what? I wasn't even going to tell nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you. I appreciate the honor. I was just happy to do it and just thankful to be at a place in my career where I can do it, right? Like Takia and I were just talking about how we just, in entrepreneurship, we were talking about crying and talking about how in entrepreneurship, you cry about everything. You cry about the money being made, the money not being made, the fly on the wall that's just sitting there. You don't need to be there because you need to be. You know what I mean? Like it's just everything can come to light through emotions when you're building something. You're building it layer by layer, brick by brick. Like it's your physical hands in some instances, like Takia with her makeup, and the whole line of things that she created, which is not just. I feel like I can't even just call it makeup. Like it's a whole amazing beauty experience.
Yeah.
And I think that all of these things you're building, you just hope that it can be in service to the people that you serve, whatever your product is or your service. So I was just happy to do it. It actually was hard. I'll be honest, it was hard for me to say no. Because one, I care deeply that in partnership with you, the women that you're serving or the doula professionals that you're serving, not just women, under like that as much as I can contribute to how to run the business side of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt like I could really be additive here from a creative business, or just like helping people understand like here's how yes, it's a service. Yes, it's great. Yes, the people that you're helping have the babies, you're doing all of that service to them and the families, but it's still a business and I care deeply about it. So it was hard. It took me a minute to say no. But I was like, you know what? But here's how I can be helpful. And that was important.
The no was actually a yes, you know?
Yes.
It was yes to community, right? It was yes to your ethos. And so I just appreciate that. And I feel like that models for so many of us who are trying to think through what ways can we be impactful, you know, even folks who are like, I'm just on the beginning of my business journey or wherever I am, and how do I make sure that embedded in our philosophy and how we move through the world is equity, is supportive community. Like, how do I do that when I don't have no money or I haven't, right? But it's like, it's so critical to think about not just how to go out and do it, but also when people who are just around you, when you look, you know, to your left and to your right, it's your peers, it's folks who are, you know, building and who need support, or there are people who you're in community with, or there's folks who help lift you, right? That you want to make sure that you give back to. And so I think that just modeling that in community is so important because people can think about really innovative ways, right, to give back and to also be in partnership that allows them to feel impactful, even if they don't have a lot of money to give, because not everybody has that, but we all have, you know, ingenuity, and we all have skill sets, and we all have resources, and we all have human capital of, you know, relationships, right, that we can also leverage and stuff. So there's always ways to creatively think about how to support. And so I encourage all of us to really think about like what our give back is, that isn't, you know, wait until your company is like making so much money, but like today, what is your give back today, right? Like, what does it look like every day to really center community, right? In how you're framing your work in the world.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about a Doula Expo.
Yes.
You know, like, and then what have you been working on since then? Because the Mama Glow Foundation, you know, consider me a fan.
Aww.
And I really love the work that you're doing. So talk to us about like what happens at the Doula Expo.
Ooh, child. It was amazing. I mean, it was from 10 to 6. We opened with, we had an amazing kind of like New Orleans style meets West African band that opened us up. We had a beautiful ribbon cutting and opening words from the Brooklyn Borough president, Antonio Reynoso, who spoke to, you know, how he wanted to impact on Black maternal health in New York City, but Brooklyn specifically. And we had amazing on-stage talks, performances. Lion Babe performed. We had a great conversation between Charlemagne the God and Charles Johnson, who's a father that was impacted by maternal loss. His wife, unfortunately, had this really tragic death due to medical negligence. And he's been really I would say, just a pivotal voice in the movement to protect Black women in birth. And so they had this powerful conversation together. We had amazing content on stage, but also we had booths where people could go visit, like the Earth app, for instance, which is like the Yelp for birth, and founded by Kimberly Stills Allers, who is an amazing innovator in the birth space, but also the co-founder of Black Breastfeeding Week. We had Kate Spade New York did a wellness lounge. We had a kids area that was sponsored by Lalo, so the kids could do their thing. We had food from people like Maman. We had, which is amazing, kind of like French pastry and bakery in New York City. There was the March of Dimes had a listening lounge where you could talk about topics in birth equity, and amazing stage moments too. It was just so powerful. And then we had small vendors. We had, doulas who do incense and make little vagina candles and, stuff like that. It was just awesome. And we had yoni steams, and it was amazing. So it was a beautiful, beautiful setup and space. And 1,000 people showed up and showed out. And so it was it was turned up. It was very celebratory. And I think, just having also the presence of elected officials. We also had, in addition to the Brooklyn Borough president, our public advocate, Jamani Williams, came in via video, and gave a message that was really powerful. At the time, he was up in Buffalo because the mass shooting had just happened, and so he wasn't able to attend. But it was a very, very beautiful, just a beautiful expression and day. And also some policy recommendations I think came out of that day that were really impactful. And since then, I would say some other people who were there, the city of New York, we have a partnership where we are the largest, I would say, provider of doula services.
Come on.
Okay.
Wait a minute. We are the largest.
We are the largest. Okay. We are the largest provider of pro bono doula services through New York City, through the expansion of the citywide doula initiative through Mayor Adams. And so this program allows for us to impact people. If you want a doula, if you are a Medicaid recipient, if you are in an area that is underserved, there's like 33 zip codes that have been identified across New York, and we service all of them. And so we have folks who are unhoused, we've been able to serve. We have folks who are who have just immigrated here, undocumented. We have folks who are really young people who are needing support of community. We have folks who are, first time having babies and they're in their 40s and just trying to navigate it all. And we have people who, are challenged because they don't speak the language. And so you speak Haitian Creole, we got you. You speak Spanish, we got you, right? So it's been really amazing to be able to support in this way. And not only are we able to service the clients, and many people throughout New York City were able to expand on workforce development for doulas in our community. This is huge.
I was going to say that not only are you offering doula services, but you're actually the premier certifying body for doulas. And I would say that's I would say that's more than just New York.
Yeah, definitely.
Other when I met you the first time, so my daughter's bonus mom, she's a doula.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know? Later, she's like, oh my God, I'm trying to get certified from her organization. And I was like, oh my goodness, you should go to Doula Expo. So, and she was just telling me how, I knew you were amazing and big already. And I was listening to her talk about it from her perspective. Right.
Beautiful.
And so I'm like, wow, like not only are you offering doula services, but truly the premier certifying body for doulas. I mean,
I appreciate that. We are really just trying to ensure that folks inside of our community, folks who are adjacent to our community, really can support us, because our material, like when people come take the training, I have people cry and say, this is the first time I've seen myself reflected inside of material, right? Like I have never learned anything or been in a course where I open pages and see people who look like me, people who have my body type, people who have my skin tone. I have never seen scenarios or been in a learning setting with people who look like me, where the white people are the minority inside of our trainings, and they are welcome, right? And welcome allies, but they're the minority because the work is really about grounding and centering and creating a space for healing and transformation for folks who are impacted, but who also have been historically, systematically separated from this work. This is ancestral work. And we talked about this the first time I was here. This is work that we're reclaiming because this was work that we always did. And so for so many of us, it feels nutritive and it feels grounding and it feels sacred to be stepping into this because we're reclaiming something that our people, like we're picking up the pieces, we're finding the pieces to the puzzle and putting them back together, sometimes generations later, right? And so this is about, this is about us, right? And so we created this space for us, and it's a multifaceted program. The next one starts September 18th. We are so blessed, to have people, signing up from all over the world. But I really hope that if folks have felt called to become a doula, to use this as a pathway to another, career, like we have folks who it might be doula and then they're going into medical school, or they're going to become a midwife, or they want to do something in public health. Like, this is a great pathway to get a foundational understanding, right? And also, as we move through this post-Roe world, we need doulas, we need midwives, we need our witches, we need our herbalists, right? We need our wisdom keepers to help us reimagine and also reframe and reconfigure a way to navigate this world, but also to think about how we used to do it before. How did we as communities navigate before? What does reproductive justice as a framework look like for us inside of this moment? And so I think, the Mama Glow Doula Homeschool Professional Training Program is a space, right, to anchor those conversations, to fortify people, to prepare them to go out into the world and to be great doulas, but also to be great, arbiters of wisdom and of information and of resource, right, to be able to continue that education and support of community. And so we're just honored to be doing the work and supporting and seeing the people who come. It's like these amazing people who show up to this training, and it's transformative and really healing for so many people. So now, I hope people come join us.
Yeah, my face, because I was deep in on me. I was deep in. Latham was really she was, and I find myself, Latham. I be looking. So I was so deep in because
I saw you.
I was because I was trying to look. I'm over 40, Latham. So I gotta either write it down or I gotta cross my fingers so I can remember what I'm supposed to be saying. So I wanted to, because you brought up a number of times about the birth justice movement. You talked about it, from the expo. You just mentioned it again about, this life post Roe. But something came out, and it was a movie, Aftershock. And I don't know if you've seen it. It won a Sundance. It won the Sundance Film Festival, but it talks about the story of two Black women who lost their lives during childbirth. So one right after, one during a C-section. And so I'm really interested because a lot of us, because we were talking about this earlier too, Omi, a lot of us, when it comes to healthcare and it comes to, going into the doctor, we feel like we're not listening to, we're not heard. We feel like we're telling you something's wrong. I know my body. I know what's going on. How do you see the doula movement, this, us really reconnecting in this way? How do you see that helping us to foster more healthy pregnancies, better outcomes for women of color, because we're fighting we're fighting here for our lives.
Yeah. So
hold that thought, because we got to go to a quick break. But when we come back, everything that Takia said, we're going to answer. How do we hold on while we fighting for our lives? How do we advocate for ourselves? What does that look like? How does the doula movement participate, or where does it sit inside of this idea and this thought around how Black women have to constantly push against the medical system? That was such a great question. Y'all keep it locked right here. We got to go to a quick break. We're going to be right back with that answer. Welcome back. You listen to the Omi Show. I am Omi Bell, here with my co-host
Takia Ross.
All right, Takia, and to jump right back into this question that you have for Latham.
Listen, Latham, no, because she know I'm loose. But I'm serious. I had saw I was talking about the movie Aftershock, and it tells the story of Shamani Gibson and Amber Rose Isaac. They're two Black women who lost their lives during childbirth. One during a cesarean, one during a regular vaginal birth. And so I was asking Latham, how does she see the role of the doula, really assisting in the birth justice movement, as women are fighting for their lives, for medical care, to be heard, all of that stuff. How do you see really tapping into the doula movement as being transformative in this space?
Well, I would say that doulas have always been here and have always been on the front lines as care providers that are non-clinical, and as people who have been intermediaries between birthing people and their clinical professionals, right? So when we think about the kind of care that we get when we go into a hospital setting or we work with our physicians, right? You get like 15, 20 minutes with your provider. They're kind of rushing you. Sometimes people talk about, I think we hear the similar storylines, right? I felt dismissed, unheard. I felt undermined. My pain wasn't taken seriously. I might have sat in the emergency room for 2 hours waiting. There's a belief that Black women are impervious to pain, right? There's this belief that, if we say that we're being harmed, that we're lying, right? And so there's also this pervasive racist ideology around our bodies as well, right? And so when you have someone who understands the systemic nature of the frameworks that we're moving through and the institutional frameworks that we're moving through and how they impact on our bodies, that's someone who can help you navigate that terrain, but also imagine a different scenario, right? So what if we imagined birth outside of hospitals, right? What if we imagined birth in the home, how most of this nation was born, right? When we're talking prior to the 1800s, right? And early 1900s, everybody was born at home, right? What about if we thought about birthing centers being inside of your community where you could walk to see your midwife, and that midwife did all of your care through the entire life course, right? So that person you would see at menses, when you started to bleed, when you became sexually active, that person would start to see you at, if you needed to handle a unwanted pregnancy, you would see that same person. If you were if you had a pregnancy that you wanted to bring to term, right? That person would care for you and see you through that. If you were going to give birth to that baby, that midwife would also handle that birth, right? And then moving into your perimenopause phase of life, you would also see the same provider, right? So this is how it was. We had wisdom and wisdom keepers who carried us through every life stage. And in this disjointed way of approaching care, and in the sort of Western model of separating the continuum instead of seeing the life course as a larger continuum that we should be, caring for people on, we single out areas and make single issues and singular issues. And so abortion becomes a singular issue that white women are the face of. Maternal health becomes a singular issue that Black women are the face of, right? And in each of these areas, we are disappeared. Because if you think about who's mostly impacted by maternal death, it's us. If you think about who is most impacted by access to abortion, it's going to be us, right? And so when we think about what care looks like and education looks like and reimagining looks like, it is the wisdom keepers like doulas and midwives who are imagining but also designing a future where we have safety, where we have equity, we have respect, we have affordable and really holistic care, right? That is not in a pyramid type of framework, right? Where you have the nurses and the doulas at the bottom, right? And you have the physicians at the top, but where you have the birthing person in the center and all of the care team around them, swaddling them, right? That's the framework that doulas and midwives are working from, right? And then you have people who understand the way that we got here, right? It's not by coincidence, right? That we're in a space now where Black women are 4 to 5 times more likely to die during childbirth or due to childbirth related causes than white women, right? This is by design. We have had plenty of time to study as well as eradicate this. And I have to say that if this was impacting a different community, it would have already been figured out, right? But it's okay to let Black women die, right? It's okay to like, you know, there has always been a certain level of comfort for white people and for our institutions to be proximate to Black pain, right? There's always been a comfort level there. And so what you find is people move through institutional spaces where Black pain is actually normalized. So it is actually okay for you to sit and wait in pain in an ER and not be treated, and instead a white person be treated before you, right? It is okay to send somebody home who has all of the warning signs for preeclampsia and send them home with some Advil, right? Only for them to have a medical event and end up having a seizure and have to be transferred to the emergency room over the weekend, right? It is normalized for us to have our care concerns diminished, right? Because of a framework of comfort in proximity to our pain, right? To be able to normalize or diminish our pain and to not see us. And so when you are working alongside practitioners who actually see you, who actually believe in your capacity, who actually can vision a healthy birth outcome for you, those are people who are going to not only support you through to achieving that, but also who are helping you to stack the right resources, the right people and practitioners and folks to be a part of your birth village, right? And so it's important to have Black women and women of color who are proximate to this work, who are inside of this work and impacted by the same institutional forces to help frame solutions and to help design a pathway that you can be on that is grounded in your well-being and grounded in a healthy birth outcome. Because they're not going to do that for us. We have to do that for ourselves.
Right. And you know, it's crazy. What I'm hearing you say is that being about the person birthing versus about the doctor. Okay, that's one thing I'm hearing you say. And then another thing I'm hearing you say is, you know, when you talked about the face of maternal health versus the face of, you know, I would say even like women's reproductive rights, or is this idea of like a cause to fight for versus a charitable problem that needs to be solved, right? Like in the way that it's approached, all of that from a very oppressive system that we live in, but that approach to it being like, oh, well, these Black women are dying. Oh, somebody create a charity and solve that, and we'll give to it. Versus like, oh, like now white women care about abortion. We need to be marching. We need to be politically. We need to be like, You know what I mean? Like, oh, female reproductive rights means, oh, but theirs comes first. So let's just fight for it, march for it, yell for it. I think that, like, it's so important that people continue to hear that this divide exists and has existed over time, period. The women's rights movement, like, there was absolutely a white women's rights movement and a womanist, womanism movement, like, that was different. And the divide between white women and black women, like, it just goes deep. It runs deep. It runs
Yep,
deep. It really
Yeah,
does.
definitely.
yeah, and I think too. I think we fail to realize the generations of young people who only know this system of things. So they only know, going into the hospital to have a baby. They only know, seeing, your OB is one person, your GYN is another person. You know what I mean? Your
Mm-hmm.
breast health person. It's like they only know this system, and so when you introduce different ideas, or when you reintroduce our history to us, right, it's almost like we kind of like why would we, like, why am I, like, hold on, wait a minute, like, what is, and the powers that be make it seem barbaric. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yep.
now you're gonna, like, you shouldn't be having babies at home, like something like who, and it's just, and it makes you feel like something's wrong, with
Absolutely.
something that innately is yours.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you say that, because this is the same way that they got us to stop breastfeeding, right? It's like, oh, like, you don't want to do that. It's unsanitary. And it's like they built an entire economic system on black milk, right? White women did, right? And this is like during slavery and post, right? Where they depended on our bodies to feed their babies. And this is why for so many people there is a detached level of discomfort without being able to place what it is around maybe reclaiming their bodies in this way through breastfeeding. Um, we have a fraught relationship, in our communities around this. And one of the pieces of that story, though, is that we were marketed to around it being something savage, around it being something that was beneath us to do. And also that white folks weren't doing it, so we wanted to be like them through the politics of respectability, right? So it was like, oh, they not doing it, we not doing it, right? And so over time that has shifted, but it's very interesting that the profile of what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a good mother, like, black women are never in that conversation,
Oh, wait, you
right?
know what? Wait. Stop right there, because why this narrative of the white mom versus the black mom, okay? White mom cries a lot. White mom can't deal with the kids being loud, playing, fussing, whatever. White mom just can't do it without any help. White mom is helpless. White mom is annoying, right? White mom nags. This is the narrative, right? Every movie, we can probably recall 20 movies or more that the white mom just don't know what to do with her kids. She just can't. Oh my God. you know, the black mom is strong. The black mom is less emotional. The black mom never really hugs or cries, or the black mom is the one, like, they can take it all. The black mom ain't worried about the kid crying. The black mom ain't got no help. The black mom ain't got no doula, no nanny, no none of that. The white mom, maybe not even, the black mom might even be married. Like, this narrative, and to Takia's point, for our children and the generations after, is just bred in them, such that we can't even tell the head from the tail. We can't tell what's what, what's not. That's why I think this conversation is so important to be having. The work you're doing is so important to continuously pushing that into the world. Because I tell people all the time, the efforts of oppression often exhaust the efforts of revolution.
Woof. You better say
And
that again. That
so,
part.
yes, the efforts of oppression typically exhaust the efforts of revolution. And so we have to constantly push more narratives into this dynamic to say, wait, there's only one way of
Right.
life for someone,
Right.
not all ways of life.
And I
Yeah.
think Omi and Latham, I think too, is about telling our stories. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
normalizing, our stories. Like, I can remember never seeing anybody breastfeed. like that, until I
Mm.
had children. And my aunt just pushing, like, she called it liquid gold. She was just like, you got the liquid gold, you got
Yes,
the liquid
Auntie.
gold. And I didn't understand. I didn't because it wasn't normal for me. It wasn't something that I had seen. Nobody had talked to me about. I knew about Similac and Infamil, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah.
but it was until I saw a Black woman do it, and I'm just like, oh, and then it was just like, then I breastfed, my other two children. But then just telling our stories and really sharing, this is my journey, whether you decide to breastfeed or not, you know what I mean? Whether
Yeah.
you decide to use a doula or not, but just sharing, this is my journey. And
Yes.
this, and normalizing our experiences.
Yes.
I love that. I
Absolutely.
love that. So
So
let you know what,
powerful.
we only got a few minutes left, and I want to know what. Well, first of all, we gotta take a step back. These vagina candles, okay? We need to get our hands on them.
Yes.
So
So
where do you know? Yeah, who is the vendor? Where can we find these vagina candles at?
absolutely. I just have to say that I really like love the a couple people that attended the expo. One is Ancestral Whisper, who makes Ancestral Whisper makes oils, incense, candles, um, incense holders. She makes an oil that is called Mommy and Me, I think. And this oil, do you remember when we were growing up and everybody was all about Johnson & Johnson baby powder and lotion and all that? And the scent, it smells like that lotion, but it's oil, it's all natural. It's amazing. I put it on every day. I mix it with my lotion and put it on every day. It is amazing. So Ancestral Whisper for that, for the oils and the incense. Now, drum roll please, 1130 chandlery is what it's called. 1130 chandlery is who makes the little vagina candles. They do incense, they do smudging tools. So they'll have like mugwort and rosemary and sage and amazing tools for cleansing, for spiritual work that you might want to do just to protect yourself or your home. Amazing. But she also makes those candles so you can get into that life.
Okay. Now what does Mama Glow have up next? What can we look forward to?
Yes. So right now there's a couple things that we're really excited about. Obviously, this the Citywide Doula Initiative. If you are in New York City and if you're looking for a doula, you can contact us through the Mama Glow Foundation to access a doula in New York City. If you are looking to become a doula, we would love for you to join the doula training program that we have. And you can learn more about that at mamaglow.com. You can hit us up on our Instagram at mamaglow. I'm Glow Maven, GLOWMAVEN on Instagram. So yeah, you can find us there. The other program that we do have, if you're not located in New York City, because not all of us are, and that's fine, is we have a partnership with Carol's daughter, Lori L, called Love Delivered. It's an initiative where we actually match doulas with families in 5 major U.S. cities. So if you're located in DC, Atlanta, Miami, Los Angeles, New York, and I think that's it, maybe. Those major cities. There's a couple more cities being added. If you're in those cities and you want to, find a doula as well, you can, join us there. And again, we're providing doulas for people in those cities as well. So there's a lot of access to support here and resources. But the main thing is too, if you are trying to take this journey, even if you don't want to do doula work full time, but you're like curious and want to just self-educate, but also want to be able to help your community, this is something that you can do. And it does lead to, in our program, it does lead to a career path, right? Like we are really mapping workforce development. We are really mapping what mentorship can look like and what economic empowerment can look like for people in this space. So we encourage you, if that's a path you want to be on, to come join us.
Yes, Latham Thomas, y'all, celebrity doula, founder of the Mama Glow Foundation, the premier certifying body for doulas. She is the creator of the Doula Expo, and your mama's favorite doula. Listen,
Hey.
make sure you are following, make sure you are reading, make sure you are connected. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Thank
Latham.
you. Adore y'all. Thank you so much.
All right, you